Welcome, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
I am Pat Hand. I'm the owner of Dancing Moon Travel, and here with me is our marketing director, Kevin Gregg. Can't begin to tell you how glad we are to have Kevin back with us on these broadcasts. Uh, Glad to see you, Kevin. What's up?
Not much. Just, I don't know. What do you want?
I want you to remind people to stay tuned, Kevin. You're good.
Oh, okay.
Monthly
Stay
drawing.
tuned. No, okay. Well, we try to work these things out in advance, and I don't ever pay attention. So, no, this is August. We had a great giveaway in July, and our friend from that that is she attended every single one of our presentations in July and put her name in the hat, and she won a great gift packet from us. So congratulations to Cheryl. So we're starting a new drawing, and this month we have a little portable safe that is perfect for travelers. Take a look at this. Take a look at this video.
The Master Lock 5900D Safe Space Portable Personal Safe is perfect for securing your valuables while at school or on the go. The flexible cable can be used to secure the safe to a fixed object like a desk or tree, or used as a convenient carrying handle. The 4-digit combination can easily be reset to a combination of your choice, providing personalized protection. The durable, water-resistant construction helps to protect your valuables from moisture. And the shock-absorbing foam lines the interior to protect your phone, camera, or glasses. The Master Lock 5900D Safe Space Portable Personal Safe includes an access port for headphones or charging cables. Master Lock, for everything worth protecting.
Wow,
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool. Great for cruising. Anytime you're at the beach, whatever, fasten that down to your chair or umbrella to where people have to walk off with the entire chair to get your stuff. But Kevin, I want to get on with this. I am so excited at our guest for today. We have Jennifer Collins joining us from my favorite land provider. They also do small ship cruising and river cruising, which we'll get into. But Tauck is absolutely one of my very top favorites. But before we get her on board here, Kevin, you've got a video that you queued up for us to just give people a quick overview of what Tauck is all about.
Okay, it's less than a minute long.
Okay, cool.
In 1925, my grandfather founded Tauck. He believed, deep in his heart, that how you see the world matters. He believed that the amazing should be effortless and always come included, and that you should travel in good company with someone who knows your name and shares your passion. That you should never, ever settle for ordinary, because once in a lifetime only happens once. Right here, right now, is your chance to finally see the world with your eyes wide open, to see the world with Tauck.
I just love that video.
I do too. And with that, let's welcome Jennifer.
Hi, thank you for having me.
On board. Thank you for taking the time to join us today, and where we can all share our love and enthusiasm for one of the best travel providers on our planet. So I thought we'd just share a little bit. Jennifer, tell us a little bit about your journey, your trip through. How did you get into the travel industry? How long? What's?
Well, it's kind of funny. I grew up in New England and I graduated from college there. And I was on Cape Cod, and my roommate saw an ad for a cruise line to go work on a cruise ship. And he answered it, and they said, "No, we don't need any men. Do you know any girls?" And I went down there, they hired me, and do you know, I had never been on a boat really, except for the ferry that went over to Martha's Vineyard, and got really seasick. And I thought, what did I subject myself to? Anyway, I stayed working in the cruise industry for about a decade, and small ships went all over the world, and it was fascinating. So I knew I wanted to stay and travel. And then one year I was driving from Massachusetts back to Florida, and I stopped at Tauck's headquarters, and they granted me an interview, and I thought, oh my God, this looks like a great place to work. And they hired me as a tour director. So I spent my first decade with Tauck as a tour director, running a lot of different itineraries. And then I transitioned into the sales team, which I've been at for another 14 years. So I just celebrated my 25th anniversary at Tauck.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Something. And you've worked, so you basically worked your entire working career in travel. I envy that. I wish
I have, and it's been traveling actually. This is, we were just talking ahead of time, but this is the most I've ever been in one place, slept in the same bed, for my whole life. I think since I was a kid. So it's been very odd for me to be here and working out of home all the time.
Yeah. It's challenging for many of us in that respect. So tell me a little bit about the Tauck. What is their history? We heard a little bit of it on the video, and what sets Tauck apart from the various other tour providers out there?
I can tell you that it's all in the details. So we've been in business since 1925. We actually have tour broker license 001. Arthur Tauck Sr. was a man who worked in a bank, and he realized a better way to store coins, and he brought his invention. He was taking his invention around to places in New England when he realized that, these are great places, and why aren't people traveling here for leisure? So he put an ad in the New York Times, and he said, anybody that would like to come with me, I've got a 24 Studebaker, I can take 4 people, it'll be $69. He went from his expense report and he just added on, everything. And he said, okay, this is the price that it's going to be. I'll tell you all about where we're going. I'll pay for the entrance fees. You can have anything you'd like to have off the menu. I'll just pay for it at the end of the day. Pretty similar to what we still do today. And so he took that and he applied for a license. So he got the first license to take people around, as a licensed individual. And that started in New England in 1925. But we've been in business since then. And his philosophy on day one was just do the right thing for the client. If you do the right thing for the guest, then everything else will fall into place. It's integrity, it's innovation, it's respect, and it's all of those combined together that will keep a company going and going and going and going. And so that's exactly how it's been. If you were to come up to our office in Connecticut, you'd see the Tauck name spelled out like an anagram, Tauck, and T is trust, and A is always do the right thing. So that's how it's been inbred in us and all of the several hundred employees of the company, that we're going to take care of the guest number one, because that's exactly what we need to do. And it's always, with us, it's okay, the hotels. Some people travel with us because we stay in the best hotels. Not always 5-star. In the national parks, they're not 5-star, but they're right there in the national park. So when you wake up, you can have your coffee overlooking Old Faithful and see it go off several times during your stay, instead of going down there, seeing it, waiting for it, seeing it once and then leaving, or going for a little walk to see, in the Grand Canyon before the tour day starts. It's all of those things. It's the hotels in the center of the cities that are always 4 or 5 stars. They're the best located, the best quality. Believe me, after 24 years, I am a little spoiled when it comes to hotels. But it's not just the hotels, it's the choreography of the trip. It's for every new trip that I and all of the tour directors learn as a new tour director in that itinerary. We do 2 complete training tours. So the tour director shadows somebody who's been on that trip, running that trip for a long time, and they learn about the details. They learn about the culture and the history and where to buy tickets and where the motor coach should park and all those little things. In fact, I used to do a trip called The Week in France, which would start in Nice and finish in Paris. And as soon as I'd be done in Paris, I get on a plane, fly back to Nice, and I'd start again right there. It'd be about the same time, a photo finish, that their flight would be landing about the same time as my flight. And I felt like I knew all the bumps in the road in Provence. It was easy for me to give my guests information about the culture and the history and what was on the menus and which ATM to use and which one would eat your card. And I still to this day know where all the bathrooms before Nice and Paris are. It's so easy. We don't sell anything on a trip. We include it. So when you have clients that go see you and say, well, what should I do? You can easily tell them it's included and they don't have to worry about spending extra money. That's not only to make it easy for them so they know how much it's going to cost, but their minds are free and in the moment to enjoy and to learn and to experience instead of making conscious decisions of, should I do this? Should I not do this? Are you doing this? Or, all of those things. But it's also the lecturers that we have around the globe. It's the exclusive access. It's getting into the Vatican after hours. It's getting into the National Archives before it opens. It's going to the Terracotta Warrior Museum before it opens. It's me going to the breakers with my guests on the Cape Cod tour before it opens and getting up and having 2 docents, not one, splitting the groups into small groups so everybody can see and hear. And it seemed like every week when we come out of there, there'd be somebody saying, wow, how did you know the best time to go here? So it's all of those things all put together. It's the fact that on most evenings, your clients can choose to have dinner whenever they'd like to and sit with whoever they'd like to and order what they'd like to eat. On that Cape Cod tour, I can tell you every single time I take people back to Logan and it would seem like they would say too much lobster because they could order it and they did all the time.
Wow. I've got a couple of comments here that I'll share. Jan from Atlanta loves Tauck. I know I have booked her back in Italy, and she just commented that the after hours Vatican tour was amazing and the fast pass lines for all the museums. So that's such a wonderful thing about Tauck. Everything seems so seamless. It moves along so, and if there's a hitch, we don't, the client just isn't going to know about it. Things just flow, and whatever problems come up, this might be a good time. I did the Tauck Academy last year in Washington, D.C., and just a little anecdote about when we went out, they took us, there's always extra stuff and unexpected things. And so we went to dinner at this lovely restaurant right on the Potomac, and a rainstorm came up unexpectedly. And, we had about 25 agents there dining, and just quietly, without any of us being aware, somebody from Tauck actually sent to our hotel and had the concierge send over a whole box full of umbrellas, about 20 umbrellas. So the travel agents, now we weren't paying clients, we're travel agents, but they didn't want us to be uncomfortable and get wet walking from the restaurant back to the motor coach. So folks, that's the kind of thing. I mean, I was so impressed by that, the things that you guys do for client comfort to just make sure that the client experience is always top notch and seamless. It's a beautiful thing.
Thank you, Pat, and thank you, Jan, from Atlanta. One thing I did want to mention is that, over the 95 years, we've never advertised. So we rely on word of mouth, and that means that we have to have our guests come home happy, because if they don't, they're not going to be telling their friends, and, our travel advisors won't be recommending us. And so it's very important. Every year they send us up to the office in Connecticut and they share all kinds of things with us. And there's a number that always stays in my mind, and it's always right around that same number. This year it was 96.7, and that's the percentage of guests. When you finish the trip, you get a comment card, a questionnaire, and one of the questions on it says, based on this experience, would you travel with us again? 96.7% of our guests say absolutely, and they do, and they come back again and again and again. So we have all kinds of products, as you mentioned. We go all over the world. We cover the 7 continents, and if you have the resources to travel with us, I don't think there's a better way. Of course, I am a little biased, but it really is a good way.
Yeah, I see Janice pointing out, I remember this too, that she took a fall in Venice. I think she was getting in or out of a gondola.
No.
And she kind of banged her knee up, and their tour guide just made all kinds of special arrangements after she took that tumble, and really accommodated her with her, it was a minor injury overall, but it caused her some discomfort and mobility, and they really accommodated her beautifully. So really, just such attention to detail and client comfort along the way. You just segued into a little question here, but who's the ideal client? Who should know immediately? And if anybody watches this, to just pinpoint themselves and say, I'm that client.
Okay, if you like culture, if you like history, okay, some people say, I'm not a bus tour person. We're not about bus tours. That's really just a method of transportation. For those of you that go on a cruise and you get off and you go on an excursion, it's the same concept. We don't spend a lot of time on the motor coach. We break it up. We make it comfortable. We'll stay in different cities. It's really not a bus tour. We have all kinds of different methods of transportation. In fact, I know you wanted to talk about the Spain and Portugal trip today, Pat. And on that trip, we fly from Lisbon to Sevilla. And then we take the high-speed train first class section from, I think it's from Granada to Madrid. So you think about that. Other companies, that's why they're less expensive, number one, because they're taking you by motor coach the whole time. And there might be 13, hour rides for you to go. That's not what we're doing. We're taking our guests the most comfortable way. And so there's a lot included in those trips, and you have to look at all the details. So people that are into culture, history, art, the tour directors are definitely knowledgeable because they give us all the tools to become so. They're not, it's not a shopping trip, but you do have free time almost every day, if not every day, to do something that you'd choose to do if you weren't on a tour. So you have a lot of choices. And I think if you can afford to travel with us, just give us one try. And there are very few people that say, oh, that's not for me. Unless you like to sleep till 11 o'clock every day, people fall in love with how we travel because many of the places we go in a way where you can't get on your own.
Right. You have exclusive access, and you throw in the unexpected is what it just delights you at so unexpectedly. You're going to go to this place, but then you have these musical performances that come out. The Budapest Opera House, there were several other tour groups in there the day that we went, but nobody else had this is actually Vienna here on this. This is another place where we were in Vienna, and they were doing. We had this opera, and they had the symphony, like a string quartet from the symphony. There were just all these wonderful, unexpected, delightful surprises at every turn. At the Opera House, and I saw that on the video that we did. There was a little clip there of the performance there with the lady on the staircase doing that performance in the Opera House. The other groups weren't having that kind of experience. It was just those of us who were traveling with Tauck. You guys so many delightful little surprises along the way just to keep it. I mean, it's enchanting. It really is. So that was one of the things. You guys offer so many different ways to travel. You touched on so many. There's smaller groups, there's private tours, there's small ship, there's land, there's a river cruises. You really do cover the entire globe. And I'd like to just focus on a handful of our alternatives that you offer. Some of the options I singled out. Kevin, do you have that video that you could play? Let's start off with Italy. Do you have that classic Italy video that you could queue up for us? Jan just pointed something out. I thought I would just bring this to everybody's attention, but she was talking about their trip to Italy, and they had time to shop, and she pointed out that Tauck includes so many experiences and adventures along the way that when you add it all up, because Tauck includes so much, actually, yeah, you guys do definitely come up toward the top of the line for pricing. But when you consider the value and everything that you're including, it does come down to value. What you're getting for that money is not just if you people who can afford to do Tauck and choose to do one of the lower providers, they may come home disappointed in part of their trips and I wish this and I wish that, it would have been nice. Well, you don't come home that way from Tauck, do you?
No.
Yeah.
If we have that 96.7% repeat factor, and if there wasn't value in that equation, 96.7% of our guests wouldn't be coming back again and again and again. And we mentioned shopping, and of course I love to shop, but when I'm on a tour, I don't want to be taken into a store. A lot of other companies, that's what they do. They take you shopping, and the tour guide gets a cut and the driver gets a cut. We don't do that. It's not something that we would, spend our guest time. You pay for that time to be there. So it's just another thing that, yeah.
You're not making side deals with these suppliers to get more money on the back end. So it's really just, so here's the itinerary that we wanted to bring up on that Italy itinerary here that we selected here. This is a beautiful, beautiful itinerary. Anything you'd like to mention on that, Jennifer?
Thank you, Pat. Yeah, this is our #1 itinerary to Italy. We have many week-long programs, which are phenomenal and concentrate on smaller areas. Excuse me, but this one is the most comprehensive because it covers from the Amalfi Coast to Naples, where we go to Pompeii. We stay at the Excelsior in Sorrento, which is wonderful. And then we go up to Pompeii. We spend 3 nights in Rome. We go to Florence. We take the high-speed train from Florence to Venice. We spend 3 nights in Florence, 2 nights in Venice at the Danieli, right on the Grand Canal. So when you do have free time, which you do, you're right there in the heart of everything. And the video that you showed a lot of food. Yes, we like to eat. And we make sure that every component of the itinerary is something that you'll remember. So it's not like stopping for a panini on the side of the road, at a rest stop. It's all about the experience, and every component is an experience. So that's what we like to tie into this bundle with a neat little bow that's all paid up in front. So you don't have to think about those little things ahead of time.
And Kevin's just pulling off a few of the images while we're chatting here of some of the things that might well be things that you see. And Jan probably recognizes a thing or two from here, from her tour of Italy with you guys a while back. But it's just, and Cheryl, yeah, her bucket list is getting longer. We keep adding to that. But this was Italy, and we're really on. What about Spain and Portugal?
I think those are two two underrated destinations, and they're both I love geography and how beautiful, scenic beauty, and both of these places are so beautiful. To go to Porto and have lunch in a wine cave, and to see the palace in Sintra and Cascais, and then fly to Sevilla is one of my favorite cities in the entire world. It's beautiful. Granada's in the heart of the Sierra Nevada mountains, and the topography is gorgeous. The cities have so much history, and you're in Toledo, you're in Cordoba, you're in so many of these places that have the confluence of Moorish architecture, a big Jewish faith, Christian faith, and it's all mixed together. And the history is fascinating. So I think between all of those, you go there and you fall in love with those places. You fall in love with the wine and the tapas, and yes, that's what it looks like in Granada. And we stay right there at right next to the Alhambra, and you just feel like you're so special because you had these opportunities to stay in these places that are, the Hotel Alfonso the 13th. Ferdinand, I think it was the second, had this palace built, and his wife was a little envious of France having the Louvre. So she wanted to have a national museum that rivaled the Louvre, and so that's what they put in that palace, was the Prado Museum. And we get to go there and we have it guided, and it's a world-class museum. And I think no matter how, when you go, you'll still remember some of those paintings in your mind, as I do when I went probably 25 years ago.
We actually, I have clients who are doing Spain with you guys in, I believe it's in April or May for next spring, and one of the small group tours. So they are looking for, say we're supposed to go this year, but we know what happened there. So they have rescheduled, and they will be with you guys, and really looking forward to that. And we also, you guys also have some offerings right here for those who feel like they're traveling, they may want to stay a little closer to home for the coming next few months. You do offer U.S. options for people who want to travel here. This is one of the ones I call Freedom's Footsteps, that I thought was a really enchanting way to explore, kind of get to Washington, D.C. and some of the history-rich area of the country.
Yeah, we have about 40 different domestic itineraries, and certainly, I mean, that encompasses a lot of Canada too, Canadian Rockies all the way over to Eastern Canada. But this particular itinerary focuses on the American history, the Revolution, the Civil War, and all of the history from Philadelphia to Williamsburg, Gettysburg, DC, going to Monticello, and it really is Mount Vernon. It really is one of those trips that you feel like, wow, it's a history lesson in travel. And one of the nice things about us, as I mentioned, lecturers, that we partner with the filmmaker Ken Burns. And for our guests that are your viewers that are not familiar with him, he makes documentaries. He's been nominated for 10 Emmys. No, he's won 10 Emmys, nominated for 2 Oscars. His most recent documentary was on country music, but he's done one on the Civil War, on baseball, on the Roosevelts, on, I mean, a number of American themes. And he partners with our operations department, and they build itineraries together. And this is one that was based on his Civil War itinerary, where we have great lecturers like Lenny Sorensen that talks to us about the Civil War and slavery, and so much that you'll learn by doing a trip like this. Is, you know, it's part of our culture, and you feel proud to be an American, especially even in these days where, you know, right now we're going through a tough time, but you feel like, wow, you know so much, you know where we came from and how far we've come along since, you know, the 1860s when we had such struggles.
You know, one thing I just want to throw in here, when we were in Washington with you guys for that training, you took us to some place. I mean, if you didn't know Washington, you wouldn't know. And people, if you think that something, you know, 5-star is going to be stuffy or dry, you know, no, there is so much fun factor built into these Tauck tours as well. I was a little concerned when I actually when I went to do this river cruise. I was traveling by myself for the first time, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But when we did Washington, D.C., you took us to this little hole in the wall chili place, a hot dog. It was, I mean, and everybody who is anybody in Washington, D.C., I mean, all the presidents have been there. It's just one of these places that everybody insider of Washington, you've got to be there and know about it. So they took us there one evening. It was so much fun. And so, you know, don't think that you're going to get on a tour now where it's going to be with Tauck, that there's not going to be a lot of fun involved, because just plain fun happens as you go along too. I have to talk, because I did talk about Tauck on the Danube River cruise. Jennifer, I tell you, one of my fondest memories, guys, there are all kinds of river cruises. What sets Tauck apart from the other companies? You know, there's that one that everybody knows because they advertise all the time on TV. Everybody knows that one. What sets you guys apart from that?
Okay, so think of us as a tour operator that has river boats. So our specialty is land and the excursions that we do. I also don't, if you can hold that slide, Kevin, I want to point out our loft cabins. Those are those long windows. Those are bottom deck cabins that actually have an interior balcony. So you have a lot of space and a lot of light coming in. Those are very, very popular and a great value too, because they're only a category 3. But setting us apart, absolutely. Everything's included. When you arrive at the airport, you don't have to spend a penny till you get back to the airport. How much did you spend on your when you were on board, Pat?
Jennifer, I came back from that trip and I set up an onboard account, you know, fully expecting to have. I didn't have a penny. I did not spend one penny other than souvenirs and a little shopping that I did. I didn't spend a nickel. No, there was no bar bill. There was no anything. I think I could have, if I had gotten my hair cut or got a massage, or if I had bought something from the onboard shop. I think that's the only place I could. You guys had fine wines, and you know, it was all included. Just,
Yeah.
You know, it was part of the trip. Transfers, all those little things that nickel and dime you.
Right.
Also, the number of people on board your ships versus some of the vessels are all the same size, folks, because they have to fit through the locks, but the number of people on board varies substantially. So
right. Where traditionally the Other vessels hold up to 190 people, same size vessels, ours hold 130. Where our smaller vessels, like on the Rhone, other companies would hold up to 150. We have no more than 98. So think about that. Think about, you'd feel a little more relaxed if you went into the lounge and you could always find a seat. With us, you can. You can go down to the restaurant anytime you'd like. You don't have to go down as soon as the doors open. You don't have to stand in line and make that mad dash for the table of 4, because you can go down anytime that you'd like to, and you'll have a seat. You don't have to join others, but you may. It's up to you. So it's all of those things. But to go back to our focus on the land, we have 4 Tauck directors on board. We have a cruise director who's a Tauck employee and 3 tour directors. So they're always teaching you about where we are. They're executing all the excursions, but we have quite a few exclusive excursions, like going into the palace that you went into in Vienna that's not open to the public, and having a musical performance of performers from the Viennese opera, or going into Loftkowitz Palace, where most companies will take you during the day, but we wait till it's closed and then we bring you in after hours. Or getting into the Strahab Monastery, where, you know, you'll see the other companies, they're behind that velour rope, but we have exclusive access inside. If you were to come with us on the Seine, we get into Giverny to Monet's Gardens before it opens. We don't have to deal with the crowds. So we have all these opportunities. We're always looking for the best way to show you the destination. And most of the time, these trips are bookended with a couple nights in cities. So that trip is bookended with 2 nights in Prague and 2 nights in Budapest, before and after the cruise. Oh, wow.
There I am. That was, we had a lovely dinner at this hotel, and I had to have my picture taken with this car that was out there. It was just, you know, everybody was oohing and eyeing over it. But again, it was just, there were always something extra, something surprising. The scenery was amazing. The food was beyond amazing. And I was a little uneasy, frankly, Jennifer, because as I was saying earlier, I was traveling by myself. My husband's usually with me. I was traveling as a solo this time. I was a little concerned because I thought, am I going to feel like a fifth wheel? It was such a lovely experience. There were several solo travelers, a number of us on the cruise, but the couples that were there were very welcoming. Come sit with us, you know. So it was such a comfortable experience for me traveling by myself halfway around the world. And you guys have offer a single supplement or no single supplement on your river cruises and some other areas. So it's a great option for the solo traveler, right?
Yes, and thank you for mentioning that. Category 1, there's never a single supplement on any ship, on any sailing. So those are always sold fast, because we have a lot of people that travel on their own, or, you know, you might have a friend and you love her dearly, but she might snore, you know, and you want to stay friends. So you get two cabins, and it works, you know. We also have on our land programs, we have dates. If you look in the brochure, there are dates in red where the pricing is a little bit lower for a single person. So it's a way that you not only get a price break, but you know that there's a lot of other solo people traveling on that same trip. And I don't know if you ever saw Arthur Tauck's first, his ad for his first tour, but it said, "All I want is a congenial party." And that's it. Our guests tend to be very social, and they make friends with each other. And by the time the trip ends, they're all hugging each other. They made all these new friends. And so that's what they encompass each other, whether you're with somebody else or not. It's a great way for solo people to travel. And the tour directors always learn too, first, you know, if that person's traveling on their own, you know, to make sure that they're involved and included with everything else, in case they're a little shy to do it on their own.
Well, very good. Well, Jennifer, we're kind of getting out of time. I just want to ask real fast, the COVID crisis, you guys are booking for next spring. You know, when are you anticipating your next departures?
That's a good question because my role has been calling travel advisors about canceled trips since March. However, this week I'm calling on trips in November that we might possibly run. So there are some domestic trips that we may run in November where we've contacted our suppliers, and some of them we are able to go forward with, but we just have to know if we have guests that are comfortable traveling with us. And I'd like to know from you, Pat, and your clients, how many people are comfortable with travel, and where they would like to go next. If they feel like writing in or letting you know, that would be good for us to know.
We would welcome comments, everybody. And if you're watching later, you're not getting the live, you're going to get the replays. You're going to maybe do our watch party tomorrow evening, whatever. We still should give us your comments, because we want to know. Jennifer would like to know, where do you want to go? How comfortable are you traveling even domestically? When do you think you might be ready to go internationally? Just let us know. Please feel free to reach out to us, private message me, or just comment on one of these posts, and we'll see it. And I'll provide that to you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much.
So great effort. Thank you so much for being with us. We've run over our usual time here, but I could talk about Tauck, for a long time. I love them once again. Kevin, by the way, anybody out there think that you might have any of these destinations and ideas on there, just be sure to post your comments. But Kevin, you have something to add, that special code word for our people who want to be in our drawing for August.
Yep, we've got this Master Lock Travel Safe, and all you need to do, and this is only for our live guests here sitting with us right now, enter in the comments the word Tauck Rocks. And if you put that in the comments, you will get your name in the hat, and we will be drawing at the end of the month for that great prize. And come back every week in August. You can enter every single week.
Yeah, so the only way to get your name in the hats to be on the live broadcast when we're doing the live. So be sure to be with us and get your comment in there. So thanks again, Jennifer. So appreciate your joining us today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you, Pat and Kevin, for having me. And also, Pat, I wanted to remind everybody that Pat's a certified Tauck specialist, which means that she can offer anybody that's booking a trip within the next month a complimentary night. So if you do find a trip that you'd like, she can offer you a complimentary night. First night, or the first hotel, or the last hotel, you choose.
Yeah, we recommend that first hotel to get over the jet lag. So thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it, Jennifer. And I guarantee that you're going to come home happy anytime you travel with Tauck. But so one last comment, plan to join us next week. We will be welcoming Michelle Bartlett of Authentic Vacations. She had to cancel, you'll remember, recently, and we rebooked her. So do plan to join us for next week, and just ready to I guess close down here, Kevin.
Okay.
And thanks again, everybody. Good to see you, and talk soon, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Take care. Stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.